Hello everyone, today I'll be reviewing My Darling Clementine. Now unfortunately my microphone stand is actually broken, so I'm just going to do a quick cut while I place the Blu-ray over there. Right, there we go. So My Darling Clementine is a Western film. It came out in 1946 and directed by John Ford, and it stars Henry Fonda. So in this film, Henry Fonda, he plays the famous lawman and marshal Wyatt Earp. And right at the start of this film we see Wyatt Earp, he's with his three brothers and he's moving some cattle towards California. However, they stop along the way and they find this town called Tombstone. Wyatt and three of the brothers, they go to the town and they leave their brother James behind to look after the cattle. So the three guys, they go to this town called Tombstone and they find that it's full of crime and mayhem and there's gunfire everywhere. They want to get out of there as quickly as possible, but they then go back to find that James has been murdered and the cattle have been stolen. So Wyatt Earp, he decides to go back to the town of Tombstone and he ends up becoming the marshal in order to find out who has killed his brother and to hunt the criminals down. So this was the first time that I'd seen this film, so going into it I had a rough idea of what to expect. I've seen a few films with Henry Fonda in, I've seen a few westerns, particularly ones directed by John Ford, and overall I have to say this is a pretty good western. It's a very enjoyable film, it's a fairly easy film to follow, and as such, yeah, if you want to watch a western, this is one I would definitely recommend. However, at the same time, I wouldn't say it's one of the best westerns of all time. It doesn't stand out as being one of the greatest westerns in my personal opinion, though interestingly enough it is actually often on those lists of the greatest westerns of all time. I really like Henry Fonda as an actor. I've seen him in quite a few films and he's always really good, and it was interesting seeing him play a character like this, Wyatt Earp, because he is obviously this lawman who comes to this town and wants to civilise part of the Old West. He wants to take care of all this gunfire and mayhem and, well, crime that is going on in this town. And Henry Fonda, he doesn't come across as the type of actor who is like a proper old school tough guy like John Wayne, for example, but he actually plays this part very well. He plays a different kind of character who really does bring civilization to the West and brings a different side to the people that are in this town and knows how to control it and knows exactly what to do. If you didn't know, Wyatt Earp was actually a real person. He was a real lawman, and he's been portrayed actually by quite a few different actors over the years. There was a film with Kevin Costner. There was also a film called Tombstone where Kurt Russell played Wyatt Earp. But apparently, from what I've heard, this is supposed to be the best version or the best film with Wyatt Earp as a character, and Henry Fonda's portrayal is really excellent. So in terms of the other characters in the film, obviously the film is called My Darling Clementine, and that comes from the song Oh My Darling Clementine, a song which is actually used a few times throughout this film, particularly during the start of the film and at the end of the film. And there is a character called Clementine in the film who basically comes into town and Wyatt Earp ends up falling for her a bit. However, if I'm completely honest, Clementine doesn't actually have quite as much screen time as I would have expected, given that the film was actually named after her. We actually get another female character called Chihuahua, who is probably a more interesting character and actually does have a lot more screen time. Now, I must mention another character called Doc Holliday. He's played by Victor Mature. He's a doctor or a surgeon in town, and he's also a very important character in the film. His character actually has tuberculosis throughout this film, and there's a few scenes where he walks into a bar and everyone sort of turns around and is just silent. So he has that presence to him. And actually Victor Mature, he's not an actor I was particularly familiar with, but he does give a very good performance in this film. Now, I don't want to feel like I'm spoiling the film, but those who are familiar with the real life figure Wyatt Earp will know that he was involved in an event called the gunfight at the OK Corral, which was in 1881. And the film actually, it builds up to this fight towards the end of the film. Now, it might sound like that I'm spoiling it for you, but, you know, sorry about that. It's just that's a big important bit of the film. I'm not going to say exactly what happens, but it's a historical event and the film actually builds up towards it. though the film's portrayal isn't necessarily exactly historically accurate, this is obviously a motion picture, so obviously liberties were taken with the historical accuracy. It's a great scene. There are lots of great scenes throughout this film. So overall, I have to say this is a solid Western. If I'm to say any bad things about it, I found the beginning of it to be quite slow paced. It did take quite a while for things to pick up and for the plot to become more interesting. However, the second half is definitely much better than the first half, in my opinion. The characters really come alive. We get lots more interesting scenes. We get more gunfights, and it's just more enjoyable as a whole. And I really like the characters. I love Henry Fonda's portrayal of Wyatt Earp is superb. As well as the brothers, we also get the famous character actor Wyatt Bond. He also plays one of Wyatt's brothers, and yeah, as such, it's a fantastic Western. Though still, in my opinion, there's a few things that keep it from being one of the greatest Westerns of all time, in my personal opinion. So there we go. So overall, I'm going to give My Darling Clementine a rating of 8 out of 10. If you like Western films, you will love this. If you don't like Westerns, well, yeah, this one probably won't win you over, but feel free to check it out if you want to. So there we go. So that is my review of My Darling Clementine. So what do you guys think? Have you seen My Darling Clementine? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Please let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.